Hi guys. Sorry for the little delay, but as always, we had some technical issues. You know, Polish guy coming over. There's got to be something wrong, right? Thanks for coming. I'm really happy to be here. As you can see, we're going to have an interesting topic. We're going to talk about inbound and outbound. It's going to be sales and marketing. So who here is from the sales team? Okay. Any marketers? Okay. Any CEOs or investors? Okay. Any other project managers, developers? Oh, cool. All right. Are you planning to be developers in business or marketing, or are you just interested in this? Interested. Okay. Well, hopefully I'm going to give you some content as well. So we don't have super big amounts of time, but I think it's still doable. People that know me, that came to my presentations before, know how I like to run this. So even though this is a presentation, I have no problems into changing this to a discussion. So at any point, if you want to ask a question, if you want to add something, feel free to stop me and just say, hey Simon, how about this, how about that? So we actually do have an extra microphone, so you can even say the question to the microphone. Also, if there's, if you have a good joke or a good anecdote, you can say this, but this is tricky. It has to be good. If it's bad, you have to leave. All right? Do we agree? So basically, if you see me walking out in the middle, that means you just missed a great joke. So pay attention. But okay, so going to my topic, because every one of you probably worked a little bit, either with the clients or maybe worked with marketing channels. And have you ever had this situation? You had the sales guy coming to you as the marketing, and he said, these leads, they're worthless. Sounds familiar? Right? Or, the other guy said, I get zero help for marketing. They just sit there, they post, ponies and cats on Facebook. I don't get any help. Sales guys? Sounds familiar? Right? Okay, I know your friends are here, so you don't have to point fingers. Or, maybe just this. These contacts suck. Right? You're wasting my time because maybe your company is selling machine learning and the marketing is bringing you WordPress development leads. Right? It hurts. Right? But from the other side, maybe you as the marketing can say, how can you not close these people? They were so hot. They were closing themselves, and you suck. You just blew it, right? Or you have no idea how to work with good leads. What's up with you? Like, you shouldn't be working in the sales team. You should be cleaning, right? Some people told me that. Or I'm killing myself to get you good leads, and now you're just complaining. Any of these sounds familiar? So, looking at this, and maybe it wasn't as drastic, but have you noticed that there's always this fight between sales and marketing, and the bigger the organization, the stronger the fights, right? And sometimes it literally gets political. So maybe some of you CEOs, you see this, that you cannot be either on one side or the other. You have to step back and you have to let them fight, right? Just like in Godzilla. I don't know if you watched that movie. Yeah, but sometimes internally, if you're the sales guy or the marketing guy, again, you don't want to say, yeah, maybe he is right? So it kind of feels like this. You cannot be on one side or on both sides at the same time. You're just one side, and that's it, and you have to love it and treat it, right? But in reality, if you look at this, it's this, right? So you're killing the organization sometimes because maybe you're too proud. Maybe, well, there is a problem, but you don't know how to approach this. So what we have to do is think about how to make this alliance, how to make this kiss and hugs between marketing and sales. So hopefully I'll tell you today how to make beers and dinners together again and be happy. And how do I know this? Well, I actually seen those fights. I was in sales and marketing departments. I was leading sales and marketing departments. And I was working with all types of clients, everything from big corporations like Deutsche Telekom or Google through unicorns like Taxify, some investors, software houses. So I've seen it all. But the thing is, that doesn't matter the size of the company. If there are these two departments, most of the time they fight. So how do I approach this? Let's think about it this way. If I told you I have a 300 horsepower car and a 700 horsepower car, which one is better? Which? The second one. Yeah. Well, actually, the answer is it depends. Right? Because the question is, how do you want to use that car? Because the 300, it's an off-road car. Maybe it has a, not that strong engine, but if your second car is this, and you're going to an off-road race, it's going to hurt, right? So, it doesn't really matter sometimes is inbound or outbound is better, because it depends what is our situation, what is our product, what is our market, and maybe sometimes even if, maybe sometimes you are right, because the race is like super fast. But then you have to think about it, okay, is it raining or is it dry? Right? Is it really curvy or is it straight? Because even with one car, you have to change the tires, you have to adjust the strategy. So it's not 0-1. It's actually, there's so many factors you have to think about, and it's not from your perspective, it's from the client's perspective, right? Because if I put, let's say winter tires to this, it doesn't really matter what I think, it matters, is it gonna snow? Right? So it matters how the client is going to see my strategy and how he's going to react to this. So as one poet said, everything needs to be balanced. Right? I don't know if you read these type of books, but so how to balance this? I actually have a pretty simple overview. I really believe in statistics. I believe in numbers, because numbers don't lie. Right? So we have to think about, okay, how can we look at leads and how do they react when we communicate with them? So, and maybe people that already met me yesterday or before, you're actually familiar with this, because I always try to talk about these numbers. So if let's say we have 100 people that are our potential leads. So they're from our target group, they're from the good company, they're a good position, and possibly they would need our product. Here, we will have 3 categories which are in a really, really creative way named A, B, and C. So group A, normally this is like 5 to 10%. These people will never buy from you. Period. They'll never buy. Doesn't matter why. Sometimes they don't work with companies from outside of Germany. They don't work with companies smaller than 500 people. They don't work with companies with green logos. Doesn't matter. They don't buy. And the thing is that we don't want to waste time with them. So for example, when you get a lead, even when it's a bad lead from marketing, if you see that it's group A, don't think about them, just leave them, go away. And I'm going to show you how to qualify that in a minute. But then on the other hand, we have this group C. And these are our unicorns. The cool thing about group C is that they always buy. No matter how great or how bad is your presentation, no matter how awesome or how really bad is your product, they're still going to buy, right? And there's few different categories here. There's hot inbound, and you definitely have those. You have people that come to you, and you don't know how did they find you. They just came and said, hey, here's a bag of money, and I really like what you do, and I'm not sure if it's going to be good for me or not, but please take my money, and let's do it, right? And definitely all of you had this client, and you're like still thinking, how the hell did we sign that project? Right? But you have them, and it's cool. Well, you have them because these guys, they're aware of their problems, and they're actively looking for a solution, and they couldn't find anything else than you. Or maybe they found someone else, but you were better. You built better trust, or there was something, right? So that's one point. So definitely you want to close them, and you want to take that money, and maybe if you feel that your product is kind of bad, you want to improve the product, but still don't throw away that money. Then you have hot outbound. So sales guys, you definitely have also those golden shots where you email different people, send million LinkedIn messages, and someone writes back, oh, I love your offer, yes, here's the money, right? And that's it. And it's a really similar situation, but you did the first step. And it's kind of the same case. Like, they were aware, they felt the problem, they felt the pain, and you got there in the right moment to the right place. But now it's starting to get tricky, because the next stage is actually more developed on the trust and the image of the company. Because maybe you have this inbound, or maybe you have this outbound, where people come to you and they're like, yeah, this is awesome, this is great, give me an offer, da-da-da, you know, you're almost friends, and they're like, yeah, we went with this other company. Sorry. You like that? It hurts, right? And this is the time where the first time the sales and marketing should start working together. Because if I'm a super duper salesperson, it doesn't matter how great I am, if I don't have a marketing backup, building maybe even just a simple landing page with some testimonials, or if it's even better, building a blog with specific content, building, you know, social profiles, it makes us more trustworthy, right? So people want to trust me, they want to talk to me, and probably they'll choose me, right? Or maybe even simple thing, like people will reply to an email if they see that I'm really into this. But this is where us salespeople, we need support from marketing, right? So we need to start looking at our statistics and see how many of those super hot clients where, you know, we've been discussing and they were super, super happy in the process, when we lose them before signing the actual contract. If you have those, probably you did something wrong, and probably you're not working close with your marketing to build the image and build the trust, right? It could be some sales issues as well, but a lot of times it's these two things. So this is the first stage, and most of the companies work in this area, so they don't touch the other groups. But now, let's say we are more educated and we're more open, we actually know that in the middle, there's this magical group B. They don't say yes, and they don't say no. Usually their favorite word is maybe, right? And that's it. So what you have to do is, a lot of times, you have to educate them. You have to go deeper and think about, okay, do you really understand what is your problem? Do you understand why do you have those pains? Because maybe you think you have problems because, you know, your developers suck. Maybe they do suck. Or maybe they need some better tools that we sell to manage their work, right? Or maybe, you know, maybe they do suck because you just choose wrong people because your project is planned for something else, right? And of course, we cannot tell directly to this person, hey, I know you're the CEO, and, you know, I know you're great, but yeah, your team sucks and your product sucks too, but how about we help you, right? So of course, we need to have a different type of education, and a lot of times is educating on the solution itself. So even yesterday, I was actually telling, well, I can see some faces that came to my presentation. I was talking about an example. I think it's a pretty good example of educating a client and changing the packaging of my solution. I have a client that built a online negotiation tool. Sounds pretty sexy, right? Instead of negotiating offline, go online, negotiate, woo, and you win, right? Or not, but you get something. So those guys, they're from university in Krakow in Poland. They've been working on this tool for like 2 or 3 years, and they finished, and they wanted to do an MVP in a certain industry just to test it if it really works. So they took a really interesting industry. They took the tool and made a property division for online divorcing in the United States. And that's a real industry. Basically, in the United States, it's legal to take divorces online, right? Pretty cool, right? You don't like someone? Oh, fill out an application and you're divorced. You don't have to see that person. But the challenge is that no one in US has property division. So if, you know, your wife or your husband, you want to split, literally you have to list everything that you have in your house, and then you have to put a name to everything, and if someone doesn't agree with the point, then you start the negotiation. And sometimes it takes months where you have to have your lawyers and the other side have to have their lawyers. So, you know, when the guys came to me and they said, hey, we want to sell this and no one has this in the US, I'm like, so why do you need me? Oh, and then they said, well, there's only 8 websites in the United States that matter. The rest don't matter, so we need to only sell to 8. I'm like, ooh, okay, so you've been working 3 years to deliver something to 3 websites. Okay, good luck. But when we started discussing, I say, okay, we can start a strategy there, but my first question was, how about all those other lawyers? There's thousands of lawyers in the United States that could possibly use this. And they're like, no, they won't use this because they charge 20 times more for offline negotiation than they would do for online. Wouldn't make sense. And in the first step, yeah, they were right. But then I started talking again and say, okay, but what are the problems of those lawyers that do offline negotiation? Well, everyone has the same problems. If they're running a business, clients. So we say, how about we change the package and we educate them on their client lead generation? Because think about it now, if you have an online negotiation tool, it doesn't matter if you're going to go offline or online with your divorce, you still have to list all your things and you have to pay $5,000 or $10,000 for lawyers to sign for every piece of furniture or whatever that you have at your home. And if they give this as a free tool before someone starts a divorce, they get their details. So from a workflow tool, it changed to a marketing tool. Does it make sense? And it literally took us one conversation, and this guy was like, wow, this is so great, so what do we have to do now to sell it? I'm like, nothing. You don't change the tool, because it's still the same tool. You just change the conversation that you have with the client, and that's it. Right? And actually, we were pretty lucky that we sold to 2 of those big websites, and now we're starting the campaign to those little guys. So now we're going to go more on educating the lawyers that they can get clients other than posting a big banner next to the road or doing AdWords that don't convert in that industry. Cool. Any questions here? No? Okay. It's pretty quiet. It was either so good or no one understood it. I'll keep it that it was number 1. Okay. Then the next point is recycling. And by recycling, I mean coming back to the same people after some time. Because if someone doesn't buy from me today, does this mean they don't like me? No. Does this mean they don't want to talk? No. Does this mean they will never like me and they will never, or maybe they will never buy my product? No. Right? So basically, I need to change my approach from being this hardcore hunter salesperson, and you probably met those, right? You meet them and they're like, boo, I have a product and it's really nice, and if you not get it, I'm going to be here for 5 hours, right? And of course, sometimes you manage to get out, and when they call you, you're like, oh, no, I don't want to go through this again, right? So what you should do is, first of all, you should think about your regular conversation. Is it open? Is it transparent? And are you literally kicking the client in different places or not? Are you just having a friendly conversation? Because if you're kicking him, yeah, you're doing it wrong. But if you're doing a good conversation, he's going to tell you, hey, this is not the day that I'm going to buy, but you can set up a meeting in another time, like let's say in 6 months or 1 year, and it's okay, right? They're going to go back and they're going to buy because they're going to be more educated. Because sometimes I may tell them, okay, you're going to have challenges with this and this. And at that point, they're like, no, we don't have that. Okay, so let's meet in 6 months. And in 6 months, I'm like, hey, how was it? You were right. It's horrible. I hate it. Now I know. So where do I send the money, right? So we need to know how to recycle it smart, because then we get free leads. Because let's imagine now, you get leads from marketing, right? And we don't close it because it's not the best, and maybe they're not super strong. But we started educating them. And this is where it gets interesting. We don't have to be just like, hey, I'm going to call you back in 6 months. No. We can use marketing automation. We can use drip campaigns where, let's say, you said, I don't want this, but, I want to talk about marketing, or I want to see the SaaS, whatever solutions. I have, let's say, a blog or a newsletter or webinars. And I say, okay, let's not talk about business. Let's set up a meeting a year from now, but I'm going to sign you up for our webinar. How about that? We have a webinar every quarter, so you can just, see what's up, what are the trends, what's new in the industry. And, if you like something, ping me. If not, that's good. And of course, you're gonna sign up because you like this topic, but now I'm tracking what you're doing. So if you're clicking a little bit more, if you're looking at more content from the marketing side, then the marketing should come to you and it's like, hey, high five. It's 4 months and he read already 8 articles. Call him, right? And this is where the alliance works really well because the recycling can be faster and the education can be better. Because obviously, when I give leads to marketing, I tell them, hey, their problem was this and this and this, the persona is this and this and this, and I need to educate them on this and this and this. And looking at their marketing strategy, I know that they're gonna write content in 3 months about it. So I'm like, definitely put him on that content, right? If he doesn't click, then do remarketing. If he doesn't click, yeah, put that on Quora and send it under his account, whatever, do something, right? And it's gonna convert. Make sense? Cool. Now at least I have head nuts. So what happens here is that the first 2 are based simply on statistics. So if you're gonna have marketing here and sales there, you're gonna have some results. It's gonna work somehow. But it's basically based on your work. You're gonna send emails, do some campaigns, you're gonna convert something, but until you start working together and putting in your skill and the teamwork, you're not gonna get a big chunk of business. And what's really cool is with companies that we implemented this, they have a really interesting problem. They have a problem with which project to choose, because sometimes, some companies pay more money, but it's not interesting. And some companies, they maybe pay a little bit less money, but it's really interesting. But they can even shift it that they can take one big, one small, and they can play with it so they can choose whatever feels better for them and for developers so they're more happy and they don't leave to the competitors. Make sense? Okay, so now the question usually is, okay, this is cool, Simon, but how do we know? How do we know A, B, and C? Like, how does it work? Well, you just have to feel it. No, I'm kidding. There's actually a science approach to this as well. So think about it this way. And again, the guys that came to my presentation yesterday, they saw this. But if you think about sales, most of the time there's emotions. Or do you believe in this, that there's emotions in sales and marketing? There are, right? And it's not only like I'm frustrated because someone is pushing me into sales, or I'm, crying because the presentation was too long. No. It's more, I call them emotional triggers. So there's always something, and we actually call this the buying line, something that motivates you to a change. And simple example, let's say right now I drop my phone here, and there's no carpet, so it cracks. When half of my phone stops working, right? Let's say the screen stops working, half of it. There's people which are with their emotions just here on the very bottom. Like they don't really care if it's not working because they're gonna, tilt it, they're gonna write something, or they're gonna say it, hey, okay, Google, right? And it's gonna work. And it's not frustrating for them because they only send, 5 emails a month, and that's it, and they only pick up calls. And you definitely know people that half of their phone is not working, and they don't care that much. Or maybe you know people that don't have half of their screen in their laptop, or half of the keyboard is not working there, but they're like copy-pasting all their life, right? And it's okay. And it's okay because they don't have an emotional attachment to this. But on the other hand, there's the people above the buffer zone, which are going to be paranoid. And you definitely know those too, right? You're like, I won't be able to post my Instagram photos from today, and my food, yeah, I cannot put like those smiley face. No, I need to get my new phone. And they're going to go right away to the store, right? But the decision if they're going to buy a new phone or change the screen, that's a logical decision. But the trigger is done by the frustration or by the fear that they won't be able to post something. Right? I was actually this example. I'm not an Instagram model. I stopped that last year. It didn't pay back. But what I did is I drowned my phone. And I work on my phone most of the time. I write emails, I talk on Skype, and I talk with my little daughter. So first thing that came to my mind, I won't be able to talk with my daughter, and I won't be able to reply to an email. So I just came to the store and just literally changed the phone right away, right? And you will see those cases. And what happens is that Group A is on the very bottom, Group C is on the very top, but Group B is in the middle, and I call this the buffer zone. Because imagine now, you do have this friend who cracked the phone, and he's like, well, maybe I'll change it, maybe not. And you tell him, hey man, I know you don't care for those emails and shooting photos, but if you have a cracked phone screen and it's raining outside, if water gets there, the battery can explode and it can rip your leg off, or at least damage it, right? Is that creating some emotions? Well, that's going to create fear, right? At least it's going to trigger him to Google if it's true. And if it's true, what is he going to do? He's going to go and buy a new phone or replace that screen. Or at least one guy said a week ago, like, yeah, I'm going to buy a backpack and keep it in my backpack. And like, yeah, well, that was a motivation for a purchase, right? So it's a logical decision later what you're going to do. But it's the same with your clients. Some clients don't really care about development, don't really care about tools, don't really care about what you have and what are their problems, because the problems don't impact them emotionally. But there's some clients, and this is the Group C, which are paranoid. They're like, they literally need something. And they don't sometimes even check if it's good or bad, they just get it. And then the biggest group is in the middle, where you need to figure out why. Why do they have this? Why do they need this education or this problem? And then they're going to buy. And of course, it's easy to talk about. Like, it takes more work to build it. But once you understand it, it's really cool. Like, right now, when I talk with software houses, it's so amazing. Like, last week, I had this meeting with a guy. At first, he was really proud. He's like, yeah, we have 70 people and, really big clients, 3. I'm like, 3 clients. He's like, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, so you probably don't sleep well. Boom, that's it, right? Because at first he was proud and happy, but then he realized I can educate him more. What's going to happen is if one of those 3 clients goes away, basically a third of his company, bye-bye, right? So you need to be aware of this, because later those case studies, client stories are going to help you a lot in the flow. I even have this ABC. Okay, any questions to this? I know now you have to look at this from the marketing and from the sales perspective, because a lot of times your content, your webinars, whatever you write, even if you build a website, it needs to not address Group C, because they're going to buy either way. It needs to address Group B, so you need to educate them. So don't say, hey, we have best PHP or Java or Python developers. Just say, hey, we help banks understand their data. And of course, we use Python, but we do it in an easy way so they can make fast decisions. Is this different? Yeah, because a lot of them, they're not educated. They don't care if it's Python. You can do it in Paint if it gives them decisions, right? Because that's what they need. And I would be really happy to see someone do that in Paint. But so you need to address Group B in both sales and marketing communication. And sales is better because I can literally ask a question, I can get feedback. With marketing, it's more like some money here, some money there, some money there, and then you wait a couple months and see if they reply, right? So you have to be smart, and you have to ask salespeople, hey, which people convert, which people like these problems, and then build the content strategy around that. Does it make sense? Cool. Okay. To finalize this, and then you say, yeah, Simon, this is really cool. Yeah, emotions, but everyone says we're too expensive. Did you have that? Like, yeah, we don't want to pay, $8 an hour, right? Or 28 or 80. Doesn't really matter. What matters is how you're going to approach this. And maybe tell me if you're going to see this way. But let's say right now we're talking about these emotions, right? So I drowned my phone. And this is actually a true story. I drowned my phone, and all my life I was super loyal to Samsung. I just, liked it, and I liked the features, and, I drowned it. I found that you cannot go diving in salty water with this S7 Samsung for a few months in a row, because something is going to get damaged. So, yeah, I tested it for them, but they didn't pay me. So my phone got drowned, and emotionally, first thing that came to my mind, I won't be able to buy, to talk with my daughter, won't be able to talk with my clients. I had fears, so that motivated me to buy a new phone. And emotionally, I was attached to Samsung, so I wanted to get that. So when I came to the store, I wanted to take a logical decision. Will I take the same phone, or maybe, replace just parts of it? Or will I need to buy a new one? And then the lady said, oh, you're pretty lucky, because just in a month, you're going to have Samsung S9. And I'm like, I don't have a month. So logically, that was already taking away some value that I was hoping for. So I'm thinking, no, I cannot wait a month. But right now, she said, yeah, but you also can have Samsung S8, and it's that much. And I'm like, yes, but logically, the price is going to be bad, because if in a month it's going to be S9, it's going to go down 30%, the pricing. So I'm basically wasting money. I'm not that stupid. Maybe I am, kind of stupid, but not that much. And what happens is that what you have on your left side, the summary, the feeling, the value of emotions and logic should be larger or equal to the price. So for me, emotionally, I needed a phone. Logically, I wanted a Samsung, and it was a decent phone, but I knew I'm not doing a good deal on the pricing. And in that case, the red spots, I started to have doubts. It was not objections. I had to have doubts like, it won't be the best idea. Probably, I'll lose money, or I won't get those sexy features that I never use, or, there's something, right? So then I started thinking, okay, maybe I should find another solution. And this is when I backed out, and I started thinking, okay, how about if I use a different company? I know it hurts. I know it would take my emotional loyalty down, but maybe, it would make sense. And logically, of course, it's going to have less features, but also the pricing is going to be better. What happened? I bought a Huawei for 200 euros, which was 10 times less than, 5 times less than the Samsung. I'm like, hey, I'm going to use it just for a little bit. I've been using this for 2 years, right? Because I didn't have an emotional trigger to change my phone, because nothing happened. Like, I tried, but nothing happened to it. And what happened now is, I don't know if you heard 2 weeks ago what happened with Huawei, right? So now I'm thinking, next update, I'm not going to have it. Samsung, right? So right now, I'm literally looking back into Samsungs, and now I'm doing this equation. Okay, should I take the S10? And I know it's sexy, and I know it's cool, but it's a little bit too expensive. But S9, yeah, it doesn't have those features. And I'm doing this over again, but I'm still doing this equation. And I had this emotional trigger from Google, because now I have a fear that my device is not going to work. Or maybe, the Google Assistant is not going to tell me something that I need. Right? So there's always different elements that you can add to your client, but you have to think about what is his perspective. Make sense? Cool. Okay. Questions? No questions? Wow, okay. So let's do this. I'm going to give you a couple points where to start, how to start bonding this marketing and sales teams. And hopefully you're going to get into that. But first of all, you need to have really clear processes and really clear analytics. Because how can you know what's working and what's not working if you don't have any overview, right? So, especially you guys, I don't have to explain you that. Imagine you don't have processes in project management. Would it work? Especially with maybe with one person team, yeah, it will work. But even if you have 3 or 4 people, it's going to go down really fast, right? So that's the first step. Then emotional triggers. Think about what are the fears, what are the frustrations of your clients. Not do they need a developer. They don't need a developer. They need, they need to get rid of the frustration of recruiting a developer, or they want to get rid of the pressure from the investor about their product, right? So think about those. Then data on problem awareness. So think about, is my client really aware that the pressure that he's feeling, it's from his investor, or maybe it's from his market, or something else? So test this. You can test it both ways, either through salespeople asking directly the client about it, or marketing doing content and seeing if it's going to convert. Then inbound, outbound cooperation tests. So see when can you give the lead to the sales department and when to give it back. When would be the best timing? What are the steps? What are the triggers? After 3 maybe ebooks that are downloaded or after 2 sessions on a webinar, should we contact him directly or not? And put it into the process, because only then you can test it, okay? And then relevant messaging. So think about all the messaging that you have, not from your perspective. I'm sorry, you don't count in this process. It's about your client. So what does he want to hear? He doesn't want to hear, again, yeah, we have great Python developers. No, we help you analyze your data so you're more happy and you don't have pressure from your investors because you give them all the results. Boom. Right? So think about it as well and revise this and do A/B testing. Pretty simple. Okay? And if you want to study some strategies, with our partner, we actually created a 400-page long analysis of top 30 Polish software houses. And we actually have the whole marketing strategy, like where did they post, what did they do, how did they get their clients, what content converts. If you want to get that sort of data for yourself and for your companies, ping me. We'll be more than happy to show you either tools or even do that analysis for you. Because if you don't understand your data, well, you're just working on luck. So good luck. And then if you want to talk about your outbound, if you want to talk about your sales strategy, or even combine sales and marketing strategy, you can ping me on LinkedIn or send me an email. And I usually promise that I will have 15 to 20 minutes to chat and to tell you a little bit more feedback on your processes. There's a start to it, and people from yesterday know this. Usually I reply to from 4 to 14 weeks. So I'm serious here. So I am sometimes overwhelmed. So I don't want to just quickly, hey, yeah, let's talk, but I really want to take my time. So if you write me, and if you write in LinkedIn, hey, Simon, I want my 15 minutes, I'm going to get back to you sooner or later, right? So don't worry. But you have to write to me, because if you don't write, then I'll forget, and I think you'll just selling me services, right? So you go to a different box. Okay, cool. And yeah, I don't know if there's any questions.
Thank you. Thank you for your lecture and the masterclass yesterday. You mentioned A/B testing. How many emails would you consider enough for testing? Like you sent 100 emails with that script?
Yeah, well, it all depends on the results. So usually what we do is we start from 20, 30 emails in one batch and see if it clicks. So, or sometimes even before the emails, we go to specific personas. Let's say you're approaching a CTO in a bank. Of course, you probably don't know all the CEOs or a lot of CEOs in a bank, but you may have a client who is a CTO in a bank, or you know someone who works with these type of people. So you take your persona analysis, you take your messaging, your email, and you ask this person, hey, would the CTO like it? So that's your first test, right? And if you can do this, that already gives some feedback. And you don't have to always, rely on that message, because if you only have one guy and he says, no, I would never reply that, but maybe he's in group A, right? So, if you have 3, 4, 5 people and everyone says, no, this message is really bad, I would consider it in personal communication, but they have to be clients or friends. Because if you ask random people, then it doesn't rely that much. And then sending 20, 30 emails, I think that's enough for the batch, and you should get at least one reply from that. If you don't, then we have to rethink the strategy, but don't change too many things at a time. So literally, like if you already have an email template, then the guys that were at the training yesterday, I'm going to share some of my templates with you, but then you only change, let's say, part of the sentence, like the value proposition or the references, and that's it, and then send another 20, 30. Right? Because, well, obviously you don't want to go, but then send the campaigns persona specific. So don't send them to anyone, but only, let's say, only CTOs of banking in Ireland. And that's a good test, because if you send to all the CTOs everywhere, Well, Irish CTOs and Norwegian CTOs may have different problems, right, due to regulations and markets.
Thank you for your answer. Thank you for presentation. So we're going to have a break for lunch. Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Okay.